if what's going on out there is hard to know, and if real deadlines are rapidly approaching, we can either wing it, which is the default approach, or we can get serious. To get serious is to get a world model. This is Retrace segment number 23. It's Wednesday, October 19th, 2022, 10:37 p.m. Eastern Time. I didn't have to think about that. I knew it was p.m. The clock that I'm looking at, I said it fast. Maybe I should tell you that it's actually 10:36. Oh, now it just changed to 10:38. You can't always trust the information on this podcast. But anyway, back to getting serious. So you need a world model. Because of those two things. What's going on out there is hard to know. If we haven't established that in your mind by now, well, there are two ways you could be. Okay, so you either arrived at this segment by chance, in which case, great. This is a good place to start, I think. I mean, I haven't done it yet, but I think this is going to be a good place to start. Or somehow you've listened to a lot of other Retrace segments, and at this point in time, T equals October 19th, 10:30 p.m., 2022, T equals segments 1 through 22, Retrace 1 through Retrace 22. If you've gone through all those other segments, you have a deep appreciation for the feeling, what the hell is he talking about? And I have it too. I have that too. I have that feeling a lot when I listen. But I know what the hell I'm talking about. Well, see, you can't say, people have to say that about you. You can't say about yourself, I know what the hell I'm talking about. Because it's almost guaranteed that you don't, if you have to say that. It's kind of like saying, you lived a great life, or you're a hacker. Like other people have to say that about you. Okay. But some lesser version of, I do know what this is going somewhere. And if you have to say that, you have to ask why you have to say that. Here's where it's going today. We're going to something with this Retrace segment number 23. What is a world model? I don't know. Do you ever hear that phrase? Do you ever hear anybody? Look, the literature in AI has some reference to the concept of a world model, starting in around 2018, maybe before that, I don't know. But what I know about is an archive paper in 2018 where they're using deep neural networks to program a computer or, build an algorithm to play a racing car game, and using the concept of a world model to blah, 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 blah. Okay. Very technical and specific to artificial intelligence programming. Otherwise, I don't hear in the literature, or certainly not in conversation, and by the literature, I just mean all the stuff that I read. I don't mean I don't have an expertise. There's no I don't have a domain here. I'm a generalist. Oh, good opportunity. I hit a button. Shouldn't have hit a button. What is a generalist? A generalist is someone who knows almost nothing about almost everything. Now that might be hard to think about, but think about the counterpart to a generalist, a specialist. A specialist knows almost everything about almost nothing. Or conversely, more and more, a specialist knows more and more about less and less. Okay, so I'm a generalist. I know almost nothing, but I know almost nothing about almost everything. Okay? You might like that, you might not. I don't know, but that's what you're listening to. How do we get onto generalism? The literature. I don't see it. I don't see the phrase world. It's been 10 years since we at this company, Amy and I, the thing didn't exist even as an idea 10 years ago, but the world model did. We were in Chicago. I remember it clearly. We were in Chicago, and we were like on this stone wall, and we were talking about this sort of stuff, and we both agreed we need a world model. We didn't know what we meant by that. And so that's as old as it is in this organization. I'm sure someone's used the term, but I don't encounter it in the old AI literature. That's the only place I would imagine it being, or expect it to be. So why do we need a world model? Well, look at what we've published so far, Re1 through Re22. I'm going to sprint through the segments and then sprint through the hypotheses in particular, the two main lists of stuff. And I'll keep my eye firmly on the clock because this stuff is hard enough without going on and on about it. Okay. Retrace 1, intelligence, there are 3 kinds. Retrace number 2, telling friends is telling foes. Retrace 3, it's all about information problems. 4, trust problems. 5, survival problems. 6, aspects of artificial intelligence. 7, goals, especially in the context of artificial intelligence. 8, machines and life, comparing the two. 9, AI perception. 10, intelligences guessing and checking and fighting. 11, intelligences traveling. 12, intelligences being aliens and how to think about them versus what to think about them. Number 13, constraints on behavior amongst intelligences. Number 14, omniscience in 3 domains, physical, animate, and mental. Number 15, trust is a mess. Number 16, trust is a response. Number 17, what's going on out there is about hypotheses about current history. Number 18, hypotheses are about or can be tested as piles of numbers in theory. Number 19, nature is not effing around. Number 20, the deadline problem. Number 21, time's up. And number 22, computer control. What about the hypotheses? Those are the segments that we've done so far. What about the hypotheses? Space, technology, death, China, U.S. Civil War, the environment, betterment, intelligence, darkness, wealth, wild cards, computer control. And now I'm going to run through a few that have been accumulating on the list, but which I haven't talked about at all. Something bigger. Actually, I did talk a little bit about that one. That's the one about God and religion. Something bigger is number 13. The first ones I just went through are 1 through 12. Number 14 is Hong Kong. A lot to say about Hong Kong. 15 is Taiwan. A lot to say about Taiwan. 16 is the Philippines. A lot to say about the Philippines. Number 17 is Ukraine. A lot to say about Ukraine. Okay, fine. 17 hypotheses, 22 segments covering different aspects of what's going on out there and how to approach it and what you might find if you do that. And then we haven't even talked about intersections and combinations between these lists or within these lists. If you take a list of 11 things, rotate it 90 degrees and put it along a top axis or a bottom axis, and then you look at the intersections, okay, great. You've got 11 by 11, 121 intersections, some of which are kind of silly, like Re1 intersecting with Re1, fine. But what if you do real combinations, real combinatorics? Choose 11, choose 2, 11, choose 3. When I left off at 11, the last time I did the math on this, it was almost 10,000. I think it was like 7,000 or 8,000 if you went up to the halfway point, and then it goes like this. The number of combinations goes like this and then goes back down. And the second half is inversions of the first. I know you don't know what I'm talking about, but the math people will kind of get it. Anyway, that was at 11. Now we're up to 17. Tens of thousands. I think maybe 17. What is 17 choose? I'm going to do this. How many combinations are there? I know you don't know what I'm talking about. Just bear with me. 17 choose, let's say, 8. 24,310. That's how many, not all of those are good combinations, but okay. We haven't talked about combinations, combining these things. What happens if this? What happens if this, and this? Now, what happens if this, except the last thing, change it? That's a lot of stuff. Tens of thousands of different scenarios or combinations. Okay. And then sources. We've talked about trust a lot. We've talked about sources in the context of trust, but also as a practical matter, sources are everything. I'm not going to run around the world and then jump in front of this camera and mic every night and be able to produce very much useful information. I'm going to have to trust. I'm going to have to find sources. I've got a lot of sources, but I haven't put them through any machinery except my winging it, my brain just winging it. I said at the top, you can either wing it which is what everybody is doing. If you are watching/listening to this podcast, you are listening to one of the few people/organizations who are not just winging it. When we all want to know what's going on out there, we all, to some extent, understand that there are deadlines and that this is serious and that this is not a game and that we're going to run out of time and that we could be individual or small group or big group. We all have that when we reach a certain age, a certain level of awareness or development. And yet, the number of people I have read, and it's only people I've read, I haven't met anybody, you're not going to find people who like to talk about this. It's hard. It's hard, and it's not clear at all what practical benefit it has in any sort of realistic timeline, let alone to a specific individual. The number of people I have read who seem to have a world model at all, one that they can articulate or draw or externalize in some way that isn't just, it's all locked up in the person's head and you just have to talk to them or listen to them talk for hours. I can count that number of people on one hand. I can count that number of people on one hand without my thumb. You, like me, like everybody, needs, the grammar of that is terrible. We need a world model. And it can't be in our heads, and we can't be winging it. What do you mean we need it? Look, we're living happily without them, and we have been forever. Well, not everybody. Aristotle had a world model. I'm sure there are some other, did Russell? I don't think so. Not the way that it needs to be comprehensible. It needs to be in one place, or at least it can't be the neural network inside your skull. It can't be that. That is not scrutable. It is not inspectable. It is not, it's too hard to put sunlight on it to disinfect. It's too hard to evaluate and share and benefit from someone's world model if it's all just the neurons and their weights in your brain, the wire together, fire together state of your particular mush at a particular time when you're yapping like I am now. You need a world model. I need a world model. I don't have one for you. I'm not about to pitch one to you. I've come up with so many. I got to stop this. We're at 13 minutes. I have produced dozens of things that would qualify in some distant sense as world models over the years, since 10 years ago it was longer than that. It was 2008. It wasn't 2012. 14 years ago. Jeez. Time's flying by, deadlines. Oh, I've produced a lot of these things, and most of them I've presented almost most of them to my wife, and mercy on her. I look at them now and they're so like, what is this? What do I do with this? I can't even get it in my brain. What is this supposed to? It's usually just a piece of paper, and it's mostly digital, but it's like it's either sometimes it's pure text. It's usually drawings, digital drawings, and vector graphics and stuff. But okay, we're done. We're at 14 minutes. You need one. We all need one. We all need to have our own, and we need to compare who has a better one and test it and put it in contact with reality and data and evidence. So that's where this is going. It has to go. Otherwise, this is just going to keep being what it already is, and that's not enough. Okay. References from the segment will be in the show notes. The show notes are not all in the RSS feed. Go to the website, get the PDF notes. That's the best source. Retraice.com, Retraice segment number 23. See you again around midnight. Signing off.